is CNN.
President Bush changes course on a plan critics say would have declared war on civil rights.
Americans gauge the nation's economic outlook and offer their views on what should be done about it.
And if diamonds are your girl's best friend, we'll show you how to stay her best man. A jewelry consultant offers advice on buying gems without getting gypped.
We'll have these stories and more for this Thursday, November 21st.
This is Day Watch with Bob Cain and Donna Kelley. News for the conscientious consumer.
Good morning. The White House is apparently in full reverse on a proposed presidential order on government affirmative action programs. The order would have ended preferential hiring and promotions for women and minorities. Word of it brought cries of outrage from civil rights groups overnight. By mid-morning, the White House said the order was being completely rewritten. President Bush was to have announced it this afternoon when he signs new civil rights legislation into law. The timing brought further outrage. For example, this reaction from the Leadership Council on Civil Rights. If the president does this, the White House would be declaring war on civil rights. Once again, the White House would be playing the race card. If they do so, they should be ashamed of themselves. Criticism from Democrats was also harsh.
How dumb do they think we are? You begin to think they think we all came to Washington on a turnip truck. This is just a way for the president to cover his rear end. He was trying to have it both ways. It started to backfire. So they've now got to find a way to cover it up, try and get through today, and then they'll probably slip the memo out another day.
The White House now says instead of announcing the order, President Bush will deliver a statement reaffirming his commitment to carry out the new civil rights law.
The number of new unemployment claims in the U.S. has hit a 7-month high. The Labor Department reports that during the week ending November 9th, 493,000 people filed claims for unemployment compensation benefits. That's up 39,000 from the week before, and is the highest number since late April, when a full 500,000 claims were filed in 1 week. Some analysts say it indicates the country is still in recession. Many Americans apparently share that gloomy outlook. More than 2/3 of the 1,000 adults surveyed for the Associated Press say the economy's getting worse. A quarter say it's staying the same. Only 5% say they think it's getting better. As far as what Washington should do about it, nearly 80% favor tax cuts for the middle class. 3/4 favor cutting interest rates further, and 41% join President Bush in calling for a cut in the capital gains tax. Another survey shows most members of the National Association of Business Economists think the economy will show slight improvement by the end of the year.
The flu bug is biting hard and early this year. The virus has been reported in at least 21 states, a month and a half earlier than expected. At least 3 school systems have shut down to allow the bug to run its course. The demand for flu vaccinations is up in many states. Some Atlanta area clinics have already doubled the number of flu shots that they gave last year. The CDC says the unusual outbreak underscores the importance of immunizations for people in high-risk groups.
When we try to encourage people to get their flu vaccines, we feel it's most important to vaccinate people who, if they get infected, have the highest risk of developing pneumonia, being hospitalized, or even dying of a flu infection. And that includes anyone age 65 or older, no matter how good their state of underlying health, and anyone of any age with chronic underlying medical conditions, particularly heart or lung disease. And this would include, for example, children with asthma.
Health officials warn against giving aspirin to children and teenagers under the age of 18 who have the flu because of its link with Reye's syndrome. Push is on to give a little-used pneumonia vaccine a shot. The vaccine has been around for years, but many doctors apparently doubt it works. In today's New England Journal of Medicine, researchers say the vaccine is about 60% effective. The shot is recommended for everyone over the age of 65. Pneumonia is the most common lethal infection in the United States. It kills at least 40,000 people a year.
We are getting reports today of artillery bombardments and atrocities from Croatia. As refugees stream out of Vukovar, the Yugoslav army has begun investigating a report of an alleged massacre of Serbian children by retreating Croatian soldiers. An unconfirmed report says 41 children aged 5 to 7 were found with their throats cut in a school cellar. In the meantime, Zagreb Radio says the Croatian city of Osijek is being shelled, and a major military buildup is reported near the city northwest of Belgrade.
The United States may soon pay Iran $275 million to settle a 12-year-old debt. The New York Times says negotiators are close to an agreement on compensation for Iranian-owned U.S. weapons seized by the United States. The weapons were purchased by Iran before its 1979 Islamic Revolution, but delivery was stopped after the seizure of the U.S. Embassy and hostages in Tehran. The Times says a settlement is expected to be signed within the next 2 weeks. Former hostage Thomas Sutherland will have to put his homecoming on hold. Turns out that he has a peptic ulcer. Doctors say it's not serious, but must be treated. So Sutherland will have to stay at the hospital in Wiesbaden, Germany, another 5 to 7 days. Sutherland had planned to leave for the United States today.
Authorities in Marion County, Florida say they expect to file charges soon in an animal abuse case. Acting on a tip, the sheriff's deputies and Humane Society officials say they found 200 caged greyhounds covered with open sores. Many of them were starving, barely able to walk. 12 of the dogs, they say, were dead. Investigators say the dogs were to be used at a greyhound racing track in Venezuela. Deputies say the caretaker told them the dog's owner didn't pay him for food, so he didn't feed the dogs.
You want to crucify somebody when you see this. It's pathetic. If y'all looked around with your cameras and seen the condition of these dogs, nobody should be allowed to do something like this. I mean, it just shouldn't happen.
In my eyes, I don't think there's anybody really here that we spoke to yet that cares. Everybody's just passing the buck. We can't find out anything.
It's not clear yet whether the animals or some of them may have to be destroyed.
Ahead on Day Watch, how to keep from being taken when buying jewelry. We'll talk with an expert who could prevent a bungle that could cost you a bundle.
And news of a nationwide effort to cut down on smoking. We'll show you this year's Great American Smokeout.
And the latest performance by Jordan and Company. Tom Steiner will have highlights in sports.
What can you smell with this blindfold on?
Smell anything?
You sure?
I smell nothing. My nose feels stuffy and it's almost like you're working to breathe.
You want fast relief?
The faster, the better.
Try Dristan 12-hour nasal spray. With this blindfold on again, tell me what you smell now.
Orange, yeah. Boy.
Could you smell
Was
it?
out there before?
Did it work fast?
Obviously it worked very fast. Tristan nasal spray made all the stuffiness go away.
Tristan, the face of relief today.
We exercise, we eat right, we even quit smoking. So, hopefully we're gonna live longer. Maybe a lot longer. Then one day it hit us. Have we saved enough to live to be 80 or 90 or maybe even 100 years old?
I'd like to share a great letter and a great improvement in Depend. Listen. Dear Jim,
When my grandson won his baseball championship, I was so proud, and I couldn't have been there without Depend.
Depend products have double-layered Absorb-Lock Plus. It's our best protection yet. The top layer absorbs, the quilted layer locks liquid away.
June, thanks for one great day at the ballpark.
Isn't that terrific? Get back into life.
Rolling Stone calls Cape Fear poundingly suspenseful. 4 stars from Us Magazine, a great monumental work of terror. From director Martin Scorsese.
Come out, wherever you are.
Cape Fear, rated R, now playing at theaters everywhere.
There's one place you can turn for tips on everything, from design to new trends in science. All weekend long, watch special segments on living in the 90s, right here on CNN.
In today's Watch Your Dollars segment, some words of caution as we enter this Christmas season. It is a time of year when a lot of people think about buying gems, jewelry. Also a time of year when thieves or even relatively honest businessmen who kind of round off the corners might rip you off through some kind of scam. How can you be sure that you're making a wise purchase of jewelry? Well, joining us from New York to help us answer that question is Antoinette Matlins. She is a gem and jewelry consultant. She's the author of several books, including Jewelry and Gems, the Buying Guide, and Engagement and Wedding Rings, the definitive buying guide for people in love. Morning, Ms. Matlins.
Good morning, Bob. How are you?
Good to have you with us.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Okay,
and
go ahead.
You're so right that this is a time of year when it's particularly important to be wary of bargains and those, steals that are being offered to you. All too often there is stealing going on, but not necessarily in the direction you think it's going. I love jewelry, and I think it should give one great pleasure from the moment of purchase through the rest of their lives, but there are several things one really should be careful about, particularly today. If we start, this is a season when pearls are very popular. They make a wonderful, versatile jewelry gift, and also it's the adornment of choice for most brides. And the most important thing with pearls is to look for a very, very high luster. If the pearl is chalky looking, that means the nacre, the pearly substance, is very thin and could even peel or break off. So avoid pearls that are dull or flat or chalky looking. Gold, another wonderful choice during this season. But unfortunately, we have a problem around the world today with under-carating. This means stamping 14 or 18 carat, but if you had it assayed, it would actually be much lower carat. Look for two things, not only the carat content, but also the manufacturer's mark, which is a guarantee that at least the jeweler and manufacturer are standing behind the gold content in that piece of jewelry. Colored gems. What more wonderful thing for the holiday season than a bauble in red or green, such as this beautiful bracelet in emeralds and diamonds. But you have to be especially careful with colored gemstones because there is a great deal of misunderstanding and fraud. This green gem is not green at all through and through. If I immerse it in this liquid to help you see, the top and bottom in fact disappear, and there's only a thin plane of green glue holding the two pieces together. This is a doublet, and we have here in every color examples of doublets that can appear in any piece of colored gemstone jewelry today. It is very important to buy only from knowledgeable, reputable jewelers, ideally someone who is a gemologist or at least has a gemologist or gemological expertise available to them. And of course, diamonds, every woman's favorite thing, and this is the #1 engagement ring giving time of the year. And it's very important to ask about those 4 C's. What is the exact color grade? What is the exact clarity grade? What is the exact carat weight? And how would they describe the cutting? Cut does not mean shape. It has to do with the proportioning and the precision, and differences in the cutting can make the stone more vulnerable to breaking, and it can also affect cost by as much as 40%, as well as the overall beauty. If you look at this case of diamonds here, I have 10 color grades, beginning with D, the whitest diamond you can buy, and continuing all the way through the alphabet down to M, 10 grades lower. But when the diamond is mounted in a piece of jewelry, it is extremely difficult to see the differences in color. So you must ask. And we also recommend, if you're buying any important gemstone, particularly diamonds, buy the diamond unmounted first, and then have it set after an independent gemologist appraiser evaluates it and confirms that it is as represented by the seller. Clarity grades, for example, the flaw grade. Bob, there are 10 grades in the clarity grading system. One can come down 7 grades and see absolutely no difference with the naked eye in a well-cut diamond. Now, that's good news. It means you can stretch your budget, get bigger, wider, whatever for the same money, but it's very important, since the cost is significant between those 7 grades, to know exactly what you are buying.
Antoinette Matlins, thank you for joining us, and at a highly appropriate time of the year, and sharing your knowledge with us.
It's been a pleasure, Bob.
In tomorrow's Watch Your Dollars, the Marine Corps Reserve's 44th annual Toys for Tots campaign. Joining us will be actress and model Brooke Shields, honorary spokeswoman for Toys for Tots.
CompuServe is the world's largest network of people with personal computers. CompuServe can turn your computer into a limitless source of information and resources that will simplify your work and enrich your life. It combines the power of your computer with the convenience of your telephone to bring you hundreds of online services, like a reference line.